This is episode 331 of Gold Squadron Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Will, back in action. Hegwood, coming off of my recent illness. I'm thinking about 100%, 95 or so. But I am joined tonight by Marcel, speaking Huttese Manzano.
Who?
Huttese.
Hi, Tease.
We also have Ryan traveling the crossroads, Staniszewski.
Yeah, big 6th edition of the Crossroads Classic this weekend. I'm excited to go.
Should be a great time out in Indiana. Before we jump into our main topics, though, I got to remind everybody about these podcast episodes being brought to you by the GSP patrons. Going to Patreon makes you part of the largest group of our supporters of what GSP does. Patrons help us get to in-person events like the St. Lawrence Open on October 21st. Dylan's traveling to. That's a 2-day event. World Qualifier. It's very exciting stuff. So if you want to help out, check out patreon.com/Gold Squadron to become a Patreon today. So, headlines here. World Qualifier happening this last weekend in, I believe, our World Champions backyard. Let's take a look here. This was the Nordic World Open Qualifier in Stockholm, Sweden. An amazing World Qualifier there. Ultimately won by Fan Long again. An amazing player. Been so for years.
Fan won it?
Fan did win it.
Where is the... Am I clicking on the wrong thing?
Yes, you are.
What am I clicking on?
Should be just the Roll Better link.
The Roll Better link says Ken...
That's top of Swiss, but if you go to rounds in the bracket, you'll see the final bracket.
We're taking a look at the bracket here. Yes. Yeah. Roll Better.
Gotcha.
Always getting new updates here and gets the bracket in a nice, clear top 8 view. See who beat what, which means Fan pulls it off over Bartosz, known as Ken, on the old Roll Better. Both long-time, high-class, world-class players. So not a surprise to see them battling it out in the top. Now,
I smell something fishy.
what? Why do you say that?
I mean, because Bartosz already won, and he already won the free plane ride and hotel and everything else.
Maybe.
That's been passed down to other people before.
You can pass down the flights and stuff.
That I'm not sure about, but I'll tell you that. That's a great segue because you.
But I mean that's nothing not taking away anything from Fan. I did not see the recording. I did not see how it went.
If you want to see the recording, though, shout out here.
I mean,
to,
I like conspiracies. Conspiracies are more fun.
Did he?
I mean, it's not that much of a conspiracy when... So, if you recall, at Gen Con, there was a top 4 left at Gen Con of, like, Tyler, Zach Bart, and I think Nick Sperry, and then Crispy. And all 3 of the other guys outside of Crispy were, like, drivable easy distance to Adepticon. So they're like, whoever wins, we're just going to give, like, the flight and like, hotel stay and accommodations to Crispy. They did that, so like that can go to another person. So even if Bartosz won, that could go down to Fan. But
sure.
Fan won anyway.
Yeah, big shout out to Team. Where'd I have it? Here he is. Team Kulex on YouTube was able to catch the recordings for a lot of the games. So big shout out to them. Go check out those videos. A heated match between those finalists. It was back and forth, thick ships exploding everywhere. So it was an awesome watch. So definitely check that out. What we're going to check out, though, is these lists. We're going to start with Fawn, our ultimate winner here. Again, congratulations. What an accomplishment. Making it 2 worlds. I got to play him in the last worlds. Man, what a tough competitor. So, actually, I played both these guys at worlds. The winning list, though, is a little interesting, a little different play, but some old favorites, I think, on both sides of the battlefield here. So let's start with the first order. Has Midnight with Predator and Crackshot. We have Commander Malorus with cluster missiles. Kylo Ren with instinctive aim, proud tradition, concussion missiles, advanced optics, and enhanced jamming suite. And then the combination here of quick draw with swarm tactics, targeting synchronizer, fanatical, special forces gunner, and fire control system going to swarm up Whirlwind. That's the initiative 3 Whisper, who gets a bunch of focus tokens for everybody looking at them. This one has marksmanship, fanatical, cluster missiles, advanced optics, and enhanced jamming suite. So quick draw comes up, takes that lock with targeting synchronizer, gives Whirlwind and potentially then Kylo and Malorus all that targeting synchronizer, while quick draw is free to keep the lock with fire control system, waiting for that revenge shot. So potential of 2 from quick draw, 2 from Whirlwind, 2 from Malorus, Midnight, and Kylo Ren. A potential of 8 shots before initiative 5 ends. Pretty impressive as a high alpha jouster out there. What do you guys think about those changes? These are usual suspects, but just with their loadouts tweaked to be specific. We've seen different versions of Midnight, it being the swarm tactics or swarm leader carrier even. Any thoughts on the Whirlwind combination?
I'm gonna let Marcel take this one since he's played a lot more FO and familiar with it.
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
I've
double
played more
Whisper.
FO, not necessarily. Yeah, I haven't really done the. Well, I did the Whirlwind trick once, but not really well, and not for very long.
Mm-hmm.
What's the main difference? It's just Midnight, right? Midnight in the old version, they had something like either the Gaelic or one of the other 3-point.
Yeah, this is still 55433 FO, which is their bread and butter, in my opinion. It's how they build all their list.
Yeah, it's it got second place in one, and then in one World Qualifier, and it won this one. So, and it's hard to argue against it. Midnight is pretty. Midnight is pretty good. Predator, Crackshot. It makes you it forces you to shoot at it if it takes a target lock and it doesn't have a defensive token.
Right.
But then you're not shooting at the other ships that are actually just doing more damage.
Right, actually punishing you, like Kylo and Quick Draw out there.
And I'm just trying to see, I'm wondering if it makes sense in a list like this to do a double swarm tactics with Midnight and Quick Draw, and just have give Whirlwind the option to get the bump up from either option, or have the option to have 4 out of the 5 ships shooting at initiative 6. Maybe bump Kylo up, or if you can get the cluster missiles off with Commander Malorus, just having Commander Malorus also shooting at initiative 6, and then just having a terrifying. What would that be? That would be 6 shots
6
at
shots.
initiative 6.
Yeah.
If you get both clusters off with Malris and 6, uh, and 4 of those shots, being the clusters from Malris and Whirlwind being double modded. Uh,
Potentially.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think
That sounds yucky.
that's interesting because like I think so like Doug for Team USA ended up dropping Midnight because like the Swarm or the squad leader just wasn't doing enough as like a ship, right? But with Predator and Crackshot, that Midnight is all of a sudden a real offensive threat. In addition to that denial of modifications through Midnight's target lock. So I mean, I think it's a good thing that we're still seeing, even though we see the same pilots, seeing different variations on their loadouts. Like Kylo Ren, there's a big discussion about whether you should go pattern analyzer so you could jam when you're slooping and K-turning, or should you go advanced optics. But Von here kind of splits the difference by taking Proud Tradition so you can still K-turn and stay in the fight while using advanced optics, but you do still lose out on that focus linked jam or the reposition linked jam when you're doing your red moves. So small trade-offs here and there for it. I don't like Proud Tradition though. I'm surprised to see it actually because if you do destroy something, I guess there's so many I5s in this one though. Like it's going to be hard to trigger that Proud Tradition. Have people like flip it down to the false. Because if it does go to a red focus, then you can't link it to that white jam, one of their best abilities, taken off the board. So I think you'd have to play around with it, but people don't ever. I have to tell people to flip my Proud Traditions, so maybe people aren't as familiar with doing that sort of thing. But still, amazing list. To see Double Whispers, again, just a menace out there. That enhanced jamming suite, so good. But let's take a look at Bartaj's list here. It is an oldie but a goodie with a new twist. We got Rebels. This is Han Solo, Perceptive, Chopper, Bistan, Engine, and Millennium Falcon. The double shot Han, so good. We got Boy Luke with his proton torpedoes and R2-D2 astromech, Keo and an A-wing. That's the Force user. Side Slipper. This one with proton rockets. I know Bartaj loves those proton rockets on Keo. Sabine Wren, classic here with Beskar reinforced plating. And then this is the interesting one. Takes, instead of say Wedge or any other three-pointer, like Blount or something, takes Hull Oakland. Hull Oakland, the boy version, has dorsal advanced proton torpedoes, the precision astromech, which gives you basically focus lock, and Hull's ability allows you to, it's Lone Wolf reload is I guess the best way I can describe it. If there's no enemies around, you get to reload a charge. So not really Lone Wolf, but kind of. But more or less has a lot of those precision astromechs and multiple advanced proton torpedoes. Ryan, Hull over Wedge?
Yeah, I mean, he's done all right. Wedge has a lot of like, over the course of a game, will contribute like smaller amounts of damage, but it'll be more consistent throughout. Whereas Hull pretty much has his like, I'm gonna hit you once really, really big with the advanced proton torpedo that you have to be concerned about happening with Hopeful. So you can do the take a focus, you kill something, I Hopeful boost, and then lock you, or just find someone who's I4 or less and focus target lock them, or maybe just set a blocking scheme where you know where a ship's going to go. Sabine blocks them, and then Hull just gets to dunk on him with the advanced Protor. Sure. Beyond that, I think Hull probably prioritizes objective and just kind of just looming the threat of the advanced Protor. So it's two very swingy upgrade or swingy pieces because Han is the consistent damage. Luke is outputting that proton torpedo twice, ideally. And then Keo is just there threatening the proton rocket hulls. They're threatening the advanced proton torpedoes. So there's like two more single turn threats that are that can be pretty scary for someone to consider dealing with. Whereas most people would go Juke Keo and Wedge being the long term. They're generally faster, more durable, or over the course of the game won't do as much damage, but won't do as much per turn damage, but will over the course of a game probably equate to doing similar damage. But if you're not counting on some of these pieces living for that long anyway, but you want to have them have a high threat zone or a high threat aggro, like just, I have to be concerned about them, versus Keo should be able to dice with Juke. Which for closing out a ship shooting late like that can still do damage. You just have to sometimes worry about hull with that hopeful and just boosting in somewhere and locking with advanced proton.
Yeah, I mean that precision astromech is forget if it was focus or lock, but it is lock, so you can even precise off of the hopeful as well if they're just like want to go all in on beam, take her down, sniper out range, early on. So to me though, it's got to be. I like your analysis of like the threat. Like if Keo's got you procketed, like her aggro skyrockets, right? If Hull has you focus lock, advanced proton torpedo, like you have to go all in on this dude or get out of there, right? But I also feel like Hull is so effective at objective play. Because you can still get that target lock after flipping I was going to say flip a crate, press a button, or pick up a crate. You can still take the stressful red target lock action with that precise. So it's still threatening with the dorsal and advanced proton torpedo. It's pretty interesting. I think that might be like what the list has suffered with before is the action objectives. Han doesn't want to give up his focuses. Luke really doesn't want to shoot an instinctive aim proton torpedo with just a single force. Keo and Wedge love their defensive actions as well. So like it's just up to like Sabine to be pressing buttons out there. So now at least you have a second button presser. So I can see how that could smooth out some of those scenarios where you can't just come and blasting until the game's won. Let's see. Well, who is our top 4 finalists here? We got Flashart and Mofar. So I think they're also, they're up here in the 3 and 4 slot. So let's take a look at another Rebel list here with Flashart. This is a totally different list except for Sabine. Turns out they're right. 2-point ship just ends up in every list if you got one. If you're an amazing 2-point ship, I feel like, oh man, there's less and less rebels. Oh wait, the Fen Rao version, Fen Rao and Han doesn't have Sabine in it, does it?
Yeah, it's your 4-ship one is the Keo, Luke, Fen, Han, which is also very successful too.
Yeah, but once you go to 5 ships, almost guaranteed one of those 5 is Sabine.
Probably, yeah.
It checks out. Makes it a lot easier when one of your 5 ships is only 2 points. Anyways, Flashart here has Harrison Dula with Thread Tracers and Marksman, Fen Rao with Beskar, Crackshot Predator, Bodica with Beskar, Optics Predator, Sabine with Lone Wolf, and Benthic 2 Tubes with Generso, Perceptive Co-Pilot, and Hopeful. We saw something very similar be the runner-up of the Golden State Games. This kind of Fang-Atani combination here, throwing the evades to these Fang Fighters. It's the only thing they ever want in life, is just an evade token once in a while to help out when those non-range 1 attacks. Any thoughts on this?
Was there any difference between this one and the one that was that Golden State?
Maybe Sabine having like Beskar instead of Lone Wolf, but if I remember how they flew it, Sabine was like always on the other side of the board, so I think it's almost exactly the same. Yeah, Thread Tracers. Maybe like that 1 point Marksman was a different upgrade, but yeah, very, very similar, if not exact, to what we saw be successful at a different world qualifier. So Rebels actually really putting out like 2 or 3 variations of the same kind of list. Well, I wouldn't say same kind of list, but variations of 3 different lists. Yeah, I mean, Fang Fighters with like free Concordia and just being thrown multiple evades from Hera. Super good. Such powerful abilities between everybody there. So let's look at something a little bit more interesting with Mofar. Well, we'll skip through the Oddball. This is a Republic list. Oddball has the SOC upgrades, that Selfless and Veteran Tail Gunner, whatnot. Has Wolf with SOC upgrades of like Veteran Tail Gunner and whatnot. Especially, I mean, that Born for this, so powerful on the Siege of Coruscant ships. But we see a big change here. Instead of, say, running a third arc, they've chosen instead Kickback for their SOC. Kickback's the I-5 Torrent. Can throw evades, can take target lock evade, shoot diamond boron missiles. So very powerful. And still has the SOC Anakin in the Ada. But the real difference here is Mace Windu in the 7B with R4P17 and heightened perception. I think in our list loadout, we pretty much like this was like the go-to combination here. You got P17 for actions while doing red maneuvers, so he can get his force back while taking a target lock. Pretty powerful stuff. Only 2 arcs. What are you guys' thoughts on not bringing the 3rd arc?
I think it's fine because you're getting a lot of people that are starting to load up on counters to that, to the triple arc. Even, you're looking at the top 2 lists with actually the other 3 lists on the top. With Fenrir and Bodica, they can get in their range 1 and make those triple arcs. I mean, triple arcs, you know where they're going to be, so you can range control. Fon's list with the multiple cluster missiles that are double modded at initiative 6. I mean, it can really put out some damage and just melt those 1 agility ships. And even Bartov's list with going to Hull, at initiative 4, it's very possible that he can land the 5-die, double modded advanced proton torpedoes either on Wolf or on what's the other guy?
The I3 Jag.
Jag, there you go. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of counter now. People are starting to assume there's going to be 3 arcs at some point. And I mean, it makes sense to throw that Jag and convert that Jag into Mace Windu, which is, an amazing ship that can still shoot at initiative 7. It can even initiative kill an opposing Fen Rao or Darth Vader or something if they're at low health. And at the same time, kick back there for support throwing evades and keeping, the more... I don't know, this list, because it doesn't have Padme, it doesn't have the same defensive tech, but Kickback can provide at least a little bit of a defensive boost to it. So
getting those evades on Anakin or Mace So
Yeah,
far.
and this is basically, I mean, we're looking at it now, but isn't this exactly what Nick Tobin won his store championship with? I mean, this is so it's
No,
not necessarily
Nick Tobin took 7B Anakin and had I think
he went contrail and
2 arcs contrail slider.
Gotcha.
So
Slider.
his mace split up into contrail slider and kickback was basically morphed into Anakin to make him 7B.
Yeah, but I do remember maybe not the one he won because he was in the finals like 2 or 3 times before
bunch
he
of 'em.
finally won one, and he was flying a 7B mace with heightened and R4 P17. So he was flying this list. He made a couple finals with it. Not this list specifically. I don't think he ever had kickback. I think he always went with
he loves the contrail. I'm pretty sure.
yeah, he always went with the B wing instead of
Mhm.
kickback. But I mean, it makes sense. It's good, and with people making adjustments for what's popular, this is an adjustment to an adjustment. So it makes sense, I think.
I mean, all powerful pieces. Like, so just the combination of them is interesting. Trying to get more AC with it instead of just jousting with arcs. Turns out
I actually
it's not.
think Wolf in this case should probably be custom Wolf.
Really?
To me, so the bonuses you get with SOC Wolf, you have Born for this, which is big, but Wolf is really trying to keep his focus for offense. Oddball can use his for Oddball is really the defensive arc with Selfless and Born for this. Oddball's job is to help keep people around. And you really only gain Wolf Pack, the specific Wolf Pack that's on the SOC Wolf, not Wolf Pack upgrade Wolf Pack.
Right.
In which you can only use friendly locks from Born for this or Plo, which is really just Kickback, who probably needs to use his lock on the Diamond Boron offense. You can't really just count on him nattying out to have a lock save for Wolf's Wolf Pack.
Right.
So usually SOC Wolf is always partnered with SOC Jag. That's where it works so well with, right? Because someone else shoots, Jag gets a lock, Wolf can use the lock, and then Jag gets it right back anyway.
Right.
I think you'd gain more from having custom Wolf, who will still get Veteran Tail Gunner. You can get R4P, so you have both arcs with R4P, and then Expert Handling. Wolf, a lot more maneuverability.
Sure. Yeah, we were checking out the loadouts for that. You actually have some choices. I would agree. Still pretty powerful without that SOC. Well, let's keep looking here. We'll finish out the top 8. Looks like these are all. I see a Larma in there. Biz, Jonah. I'm not going to pronounce that. And plus. Yeah. These are all the other rest of the top 8 list here. So this is the one I can't pronounce. H. Warrendium. Sure. The robot doesn't have people's official names, especially in Europe. I know that's like a big no-no to not have like
Privacy
people's.
thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Law.
So.
Note: this is the only other player that went 5-0 in Swiss besides Bartos.
Ooh. Interesting. With a similar style of list as well. But this is Resistance. With Poe Dameron and Ray's Millennium Falcon with engine upgrade, Ray C-3PO, Marksman, and Trickshot. A little coordinating there at I-6. Pretty interesting. LOSD with Predator and Swarm Tactics. We have Tim and Wexley. Heavy Laser Cannon and R6D8. That's a Squad Predator Astromech. Anybody can line up a bullseye and give you a reroll. Shaza Zaro with Plasma Torpedoes, Wartime Loadout, and Dorsal Turret. Shaz says if you attack her, she copies a green token. throws it to somebody behind her. And then we have BB-8 with Larma Daisy. Larma lets you jam even while stressed. So you can do BB-8s like boost and barrel roll, do a white maneuver, which they have a lot more white than blue on that dial, and then still be able to dive in and jam. I think you could then also coordinate with C-3PO at any distance to get those jams off at I-6 as well. So a lot of synergy here. I'm assuming that the swarm tactics is to bump Shaza up from 3 to 5 there, because they kind of hang out together. Ryan, what do you think about the C-3PO BB-8 here? We normally see those combined into a single ship, if I'm not mistaken, a 9 or I don't even know what other 5-point, a Kova or something.
It's generally 9, like for the Poe Falcon list we've seen, it's 4 ship. But yeah, there's always the 3 costs and the 2 costs being BB-8. Yeah, that coordinate is not something we've seen on Poe Falcon a lot. C-3PO having access to that. I mean, so this Poe still retains Ray Gunner, very important. Still retains engine upgrade, very big. No illicit and no notorious. Utilizing trick shot, and you got a 1-point upgrade left for marksmanship, which is like, it's just there, right? You just take it.
Sure.
And giving your plasma torpedo carrying Y-wing that I-6 coordinate to get that lock, very nice. While Poe still gets a calculate in return, so with Ray Gunner calculate, Poe still has a decent shot. Not as good as we've seen other Poes in these lists, because a lot of times one of those 3 T-70s is toting M9G8,
or like
which
a
can lock
or
Poe.
something.
Yeah.
To get that reroll focus modifier and the blank conversion.
Yep. To mitigate double blank plus whatever result, basically. So toting Shaza, tethering Elo kind of to her a little bit, just kind of gives them an upfront attack. Poe, it needs to do kind of particular flying to make sure he's still in range to coordinate I-6 though, so opponent may have a general idea what they want to do. I'd be curious how often Poe was kind of sideswiping behind in the effect that, okay, so Shaza and Elo started going forward, they get ready for their attack run, and then Poe just kind of coming from the right or the left behind them, just kind of swoops behind and may or may not have a shot that round, but still gets to coordinate I-6. Elo and Shaza take a little bit of a brunt of some damage, and then Poe continues swiping whatever direction he was pointing, and then Temin maybe is going the other way. There's some... I'm generally not a huge fan of relying on another ship just for my ship to be able to get a viable, good target lock for its ability to produce real damage. But this is a mostly undiscovered way, because, as I said, not many Poe Falcons have taken C-3PO that I've seen, at least successfully. So...
this is kind of like getting a discount Zori out there then. You still get double modified I-5 attack, but you're doing it at a whole point cheaper.
Yeah, by ship value, yes, because you're doing it 1 point cheaper on the ship.
Right.
But, so Zori's ability not only double mod the plasma, but she also has intricacies about her ability when other ships on the opposing side do actions around her. Yeah, like if they go to boost or roll to get her in a shot, she could boost or roll to leave. Granted, hers are red, so she would end up double stressed, but then she's not getting shot, which is pretty nice. But you also have, in this one, Zori, if she wants the double mod shot, is kind of tethered, just like Shaza is to Elo anyway with Swarm Tactics. So, and you still have Wartime, so same defensive profile. You're not getting stressed like Zori would be, so you don't have to worry about R4 Astromech anyway. So there's pros and cons. You're telling your I6 who you probably should be coordinating, but that is the really sneaky one is that you did mention. You're right. Is the I6 BB8 jam coordinate? That's really neat. I think
from across the board.
Yeah, right. That could be Poe could be anywhere, right? I'm gonna coordinate this jam. BB8 could be completely across the board, and it won't matter because he's got calculate on there.
Yeah, what we're referring to is what is the exact wording of C3PO here?
So C3PO says, while you coordinate, you can choose friendly ships beyond range 2 if they have calculate on their action.
Yes. Yeah.
Pretty good.
Could really catch somebody off guard who was like a
sure.
Vader or Dengar, right? Even just like Han. Oh, you can't block Han and then jam him though. You can't jam at range 0. But yeah, like a thing like Kyo, we saw.
You can't jam at range 0.
You cannot jam at range 0. You have to be fact checked, but I believe it's range 1. Only.
Or range 1 to 2 in Bullseye.
Right. This was I just remember it because I saw a Tabson with biohexacrypt codes spend their lock to jam somebody at range 0, which I was like, why didn't they need to spend their lock? It was to get the extra range, which extra meant shorter range in that scenario. So kind of interesting there. But yeah, a lot of tricks though, like you said, no Notorious or anything that us Americans are used to, but this is a European event. They do things a little differently out there.
Oh, it's not even just Europeans. I think there's two types of Pro Falcon players. There's the Notorious crowd and there's the Trick Shot crowd. Both have merit. I err on the side of Notorious, but I'll be honest, the C3PO actually interesting. It would get me to consider not bringing Notorious.
Right. Maybe. I mean, even if you're not coordinating, you're still getting those double counts, so you can have something.
Yeah, double calc is better than a single focus. So, yeah.
Yeah, until you get to like 5 dice or something like that. 5 dice with the target lock. Then
which Trick Shot is, you can get to 5 dice at range 1.
It's true. At that point, you have to do something else. But yeah, pretty interesting take there. Having a little extra trick to see on the Resistance. Let's keep it going though. Over to Bless with Empire making their first appearance here in the top cut. I think we had Rebel, First Order, Rebel, Republic, now Resistance. So we're just missing that Scum and CIS. But anyways.
Don't worry, they're not there.
they're not coming. Don't wait up for them. They're not. I see a Django not too far away though, so close, but not in the top 8. Anyways, Bless here with Rear Admiral Chernow, Agile Gunner, Dauntless, Electronic Baffle, Death Troopers, Darth Vader, and Ruthless. The Death Troopers Darth Vader combination, so powerful. You can't clear stress. And because you can't clear stress, Vader's doing automatic damage to you. Terrifying. We have Countdown with Shield Upgrade, Ruthless, and Discipline. Trying to get some barrel rolls and target locks onto that Countdown in the middle of combat. Tomex Bren with Saturation, Salvo, Barrage Rocket, Bomblet. Very classic there. Major Rhymer with Saturation, Salvo, Barrage Rockets, Seismic Charges, and Delayed Fuses. And then Deathfire, but not the standard loadout Deathfire, not the terrifying one where he's trying to launch proxies or launch protons at you. This one is Deathfire with proxy mines and delayed fuses. The customizable one, when they're destroyed, they have a chance to attack and drop a mine. So in this instance, you could even fuse it if you happen to be dropping it on an ally or something like that. I've flown something in the Nickel City League these pilots, but different loadouts for them. And it is just nasty. You're presented with 2 bad options. Countdown, or 3 bad options, really. Countdown, rack, or 3 bombers. None of them you could really destroy easily. And each one has a way to mess with you. Being the saturation salvo. I mean, that's so powerful. If you don't have tokens, if you don't have a focus token, I think the saturation salvo is so much more powerful, because now you don't have to make them reroll the eyeballs. You can just leave the eyeballs. You're only looking to reroll evades in that situation. So some pretty powerful stuff. Well, I mean, what do you guys think about that Deathfire out there with just proxy mines as, I guess, a distraction?
I gotta ask, because this screams with the mistake Marcel made with Deathfire in the past. Of launching it on Death. And that is not what Deathfire can do.
Well, I think he could now. Didn't they change?
No.
No. Most different Deathfire. SL Deathfire is different than custom Deathfire.
What makes the one difference?
You can launch specifically with the 3 straight template only. And it's saying that within the SL card itself, the wording is different than the wording utilized within the Deathfire custom.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have to imagine that Deathfire can equip an Electrochaff Cloud, which is a launchable only device. So when customized Deathfire would be destroyed, they would be allowed to launch that device because it naturally launches. But you couldn't like drop it or whatever, because that's not how that device works. Now, if customizable Deathfire, like Ryan said launch it with a 1 forward template, be a lot different. Just like Trajectory. Trajectory calls out your template that you launch with 5 straight. So hopefully not. If I know the experienced European judging staff over there, hopefully they would shut that down. But proxy mines are still very powerful. Like that automatic damage between like Darth Vader's automatic damage and the proxy mines automatic hit plus roll for 2. You could just take out a Fang Fighter in like one combination of both of those, right? Could be.
Nimble Bomber definitely helps deploy those proxies where you want them.
Sure. I mean, just like, man, imagine just that Deathfire just like 5K right in front of you, and now like a couple of your ships are blocked onto it, and it's the only range 1 attacks you have now. Sets up a discipline from Countdown to get like a lock or a clutch barrel roll or something. Even, I mean, what do you think about this? Rear Admiral and Countdown using their Ruthless to destroy Deathfire to guarantee the proxy off.
That would be kind of funny.
They're like, oh no.
Also, that's a very bold move to just say, I'm gonna 5K right in front of you and hope that you would fast enough to either bump into me, or I hope you don't shoot me to death.
Sure. I mean, if they fly past you, even better. It could be. That's the problem I've been having flying against and with the standard loadout Deathfire, is that there's so many options of like, is it turning towards you to launch? Is it turning away to 3-bank drop? That neither me or my opponent really is not quite sure what the standard loadout Deathfire ever should be doing. And I feel like this one could be a similar situation of like, is it going to 1 forward? Is it going to 5K? Like what could it be doing? Plus you get 2 charges on proxy mines, so like the early just lane denial or just throw it on top of an objective early on could be pretty funny.
Sure. Now you did talk about Satsal and its effect, which yes is generally more dangerous when an opposing ship does not have their green token. I'd have to check, but I think we are in general in a slightly average or lower agility meta with arcs, Han Falcon, T-70s, Luke in the T-65. Our more common 3 agilities are Fenrau Rebel, EO A-Wing, some of the FO TIE Fighters, Vader. But a lot of things are like 2 agility or 1.
Yeah, if you're not an Empire or First Order, you probably don't have 3 agility. Or a Fang Fighter, yeah.
Or a Fang, or an A-Wing. So yeah, there's still some.
There's a few trickling out there.
But I think unless you bring Jonas, I'm of the opinion you should be bringing standard loadout Tomex. Yes, you do need to get a lock to shoot your secondary weapon. I believe in your capability to find a ship to go shoot your plasma torp at. If you have a choice between, I'm going to go try and shoot this I-4 or very predictably moving I-5 ship and get a lock on it and shoot my plasma torp, or I'm going to try and track down this I-6 ship that, like, I'm going to try and track down Vader and get a plasma on it. Like, that's, you got to target selection issues here first. But there's so many shields in the meta right now, and generally lower agility, that Telemax is fully modded plasma for 3 points. With the kit of not only his ability to get the double mods, True Grit and Ion Bombs, I think the overall kit has a much higher ceiling than the Barrage Sat Salvo Tomex. I think the Barrage Sat Salvo Tomex is a safer play,
right?
But it does not have nearly the high ceiling that SL Tomex does.
I mean, it could just come down to like bomb selection then, because the bomblet generator, and I know you're big on those ions, but even Major Reimer's fused seismics, we saw really done well at Golden State Games to win it, in fact. But those extra couple damage from the bombs, and like guaranteed damage too, being able to destroy these kind of, or do damage to at least, these kind of like unkillable like Fangatanis or Lukes or whatever flying around. So it'll be interesting to see if I agree with you though. I think Plasma Tomex is just like has a higher ceiling, I would say, but the Barrage Salvo has higher floor. It's just easier to fly. Just fly around, one forward focus, one bank focus, right? Just wait for people.
Lambolo asking what True Grit was. The True Grit is currently only a talent upgrade on the Bomber Pack standard loadout Tomex only. It says at the end of the activation phase, so same time bombs would go off. If you are not strained, you may gain 1 strain token to remove a non-lock red or orb. So you can remove that stress that you took from doing your barrel roll link to target lock.
Yeah, triple action.
Get rid of an ion. You get rid of a reload or a jam, I guess. Or a deplete, if you got one of those somehow.
Sure.
Or a strain instead. And a lot of times, Tomex isn't the thing being looked at. Pretty free to take the strain instead.
Yeah. To getting barrel roll focus lock for just a strain, to be able to like 3 bank or 4 forward to pursue more. Ugh. So powerful. If left alone.
Yeah, that's why you have Rack and Deathfire around to draw a little bit of aggro.
Yeah. I'll say, like, after flying this kind of not 3 agility Empire list, the target selection's all over the place. Like, you just can't even start on countdown. Too much of a commitment.
You can start on countdown if the first turn or second turn of engagement, specifically engagement, you have three or more guns on countdown. Right. In 1 turn. Countdown is actually one of the easier ships to just kill in 1 straight turn of concentrated fire, because he is still just 2 agility. he's going to make one of those attacks just do 1 damage, but the rest of the attacks are going to be regular, fully operational, and with only 4 health. 5 health. He has
5.
Shield,
Yeah.
right?
Must bring shield on your countdown. Even though the bombs are so juicy. The bombs are so juicy.
Bombs are really juicy, though, I will say. But I do think Disciplined is right on countdown, and I do definitely like Ruthless. It's just whether is it shield or is it a bomb plus another mod like a delay view.
Sure.
But
I mean proxy mines as well. Are proxy mines 8 or 9?
Proxy mines are 10.
10? Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
They're expensive.
Okay.
Yeesh, yeah. But yeah, I think Disciplined is definitely the right call on countdown because there's plenty of games where people are just like, I'm not even going to try with countdown. I'm going to go kill other stuff. Well, when you kill other stuff, countdown's going to lock or bear roll to get a shot on you.
Right. Yeah, I was finding with like Lone Wolf, and it's like it wasn't enough sometimes. Yeah, pretty exciting stuff there. It's as an Imperial player, I'm like, oh yeah, this totally makes sense. But like, if you're not keeping up on Empire, this could throw you through a loop. So exciting to see that it made it so far up until the top 8 there. But let's keep going here because we can go breeze through these last 2. We have Johan H. Thanks for having your real name in there. Having Boy Luke, Han Solo, with your Bistan Perceptive. This one taking Trick Shot. And then Fen Rao, Beskar, Predator Crack, and Kyo with Prockets. This is what we were talking about before, the Sabine-less rebels. Man, Fen Rao still impresses me about how much, like what you could do with linked actions and 3 agility at I6. And free of 8s, I guess, at that point too, right? It's like, you get your focus token, you get your offensive modifiers through Predator and Crack Shot, you get your defensive modifiers through the Concordia face-off, and that Beskar reinforced plating. I mean, I don't think I'm a good enough pilot to just fly him out there without that kind of like Hera protection or the Boudica protection. But in the right hands, we've seen it be very successful as well. Though another Kia with proton rockets is interesting. I don't know if I like it, but I'll tell you the loadout I like for it because Bizet. That's probably not right, but I think it's fun to say. In our last top 4 here, or top 8, excuse me, is running a Kyo with concussion missiles and Lone Wolf. This one has Wedge with elusive and marksmanship, so I assume that's going to be A-wing Wedge. And then,
definitely, because there's very 2 large pieces after that.
Yes, you still have the Han Solo Bistan Perceptive Trick Shot, missing that Millennium Falcon title because it's on Lando Calrissian with the Millennium Falcon, Ezra Bridger, K2SO, 9-Nub, and Hopeful. So this Lando is coordinating actions. He can give out, calculate to himself. If he didn't boost, it would be stressless. So you can give yourself the calculate and the stress, do the blue maneuver with 9, and then be able to take focus lock as well, or evade lock at that point, right, with your Millennium Falcon title. And you still have a force point through your gunner, and you can spend that force point to make an attack with your other bowtie turret arc. Marcel, what is up with this Lando getting thrown in there in a rebel list?
I'm back. I heard my name.
Yes.
Lando. Let's see. We got Millennium Falcon, Ezra Bridger. What does Ezra do? I don't even remember. K2SO.
Ezra's a force point
Force
gunner, and you can spend your force point to make a second attack, but it has to be out. It's like a veteran turret gunner at the cost of a force.
It has to be out the opposite side.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty fancy. I mean,
If you're
you get
stressed
K2
though,
SO.
if you like boosted for that, you do get a reroll on your Ezra attacks.
Only on the Ezra attacks or any attack?
Only on the Ezra bonus attack. If you spent the force
Gotcha.
and you're stressed, you do get a reroll. So it's a small bonus out there for it.
Okay, so you got Nien Num, makes sense. Hopeful. Well, what else are you gonna spend the 1 point on?
It's a 1 point.
K2 SO, so you're throwing out. You're throwing out calculate.
Yeah, potentially to wedge or
At the
Kyo.
beginning of the turn, or yourself. I mean, you're doing
Yeah.
a blue maneuver almost every turn. So you're giving yourself a.
As long as you don't boost. This one doesn't have engine upgrade.
Yeah, but I mean, again, since you're trying to do blue maneuvers every turn anyway.
Right.
And Millennium Falcon. Now he's got the Millennium Falcon instead of Han Solo. That's interesting.
I mean, Han Solo's never going to take the evade. Always loves that double focus.
Yeah, that's true. And he'll be able to take the evade. Actually, he'll be able to take the evade, calculate, force, and so he'll have an evade, calculate, force, and some other
Target
action.
lock. Probably a target lock.
Yeah, target lock. Yeah, or
And then if something is destroyed, you could focus or boost with Hopeful. So it is actually like doing everything but focus or boost normally, which is very interesting. So Hopeful, I think, is the right call there.
yeah, but it also gives Keel the target lock for concussion missile
Sure.
at initiative 5 versus Keel's moving on initiative 3.
I mean,
so
yeah, Lando's a coordinator. I think he's always I always just assume he's self.
This is actually a super cool list.
Selfish.
It makes me wonder if Wedge is, looking at Barto's list above, if this list would not benefit from Hull as well. So being Han, Lando, Hull, Keo, because then Hull's ability you can take the stress to get the target lock as well.
Let's see.
So for example,
this got knocked out by the Heratani as a note. The Fangs actually took out the. Or no, sorry. It was Bartage who took this out. Bartage's list did better against the Double Falcon.
Yeah, but I mean, this is pretty cool. I mean, both Falcons have the potential to shoot twice. Keo can get that initiative 5 target lock, and Wedge. Well, I think for the most part, Wedge is probably just on his own doing his own thing. I'm assuming that's why they put the elusive on there, so he can just take objective actions and have a defensive reroll. But interesting list. I think when Dion went to his store championship, this is something along the lines of what he took, right? He took like double.
He took
a double Falcon list.
He didn't take 2 A-wings. He took an X-wing and Sabine. But yeah, he took.
Got it.
These are very similar loadout, I think, to what he was bringing on his Lando. So you had the right idea. There's something to the double pancakes still. But
yeah,
you had to really know them. You had to really know those turrets, I think, to pull this off.
Yeah, and it can hit pretty hard, especially going leaning into the trick shot. Then you're throwing some pretty beefy dice.
This is a interesting thing for me that it's something. We'll look at the stats in just a second and we'll wrap it up. But this is something interesting that I've noticed is that we just don't have dedicated coordinators anymore. We don't have sheathopeds anymore. Like First Order just gave up on size shuttles. Like the only coordinators out of this entire top 4 are, I guess, Benthic and Lando, and sometimes Poe. I mean, is SOC?
We've seen people use Squad Leader Midnight.
Yeah, Squad Leader Midnight, I'd say.
Okay. I mean, and I guess Hera and LaBorn for this are kind of like coordinators, right? They're coordinate-esque. They just don't have to give you. They don't have to commit to the coordinate.
Sorry, Kayla's over there cheering that Green Bay's losing.
Oh no, the foosball, huh?
Yeah, the
Well, it turns out
ball game.
Turns out the whole
The game.
North Midwest division is awful. So.
Well, the Lions are okay.
Whoa. Lions are doing real good.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Lions are good this year.
They've
We
only
have
lost
3
one.
terrible teams and 1 good game. One good team.
Fair enough. All right, go Lions.
Anyway.
Anyways, it's just an observation that like we just don't have like like you said, like Midnight is like the only one. Like our squad leader Midnight is like these days like our only like dedicated. I'm gonna trade my action for your action kind of ship. Because all these other ones are kind of just like free or Hera-esque, kind of waiting around to see if you need the token before committing to give it in to you.
And you're not seeing that. What was it? They changed his loadout, so he's not that good anymore. He used to be the Empire, the one that gets a stress and gets a focus, so he could coordinate.
Oh, you're talking about Magna?
Yeah.
The
Something.
squad.
Yeah, they took. So you can't fit the heavy laser cannon anymore.
No.
So I think
You coordinate with a jam cannon now, which is like not worth it. Like they took away the one thing that made it interesting, which was its damage output.
So yeah, that's. And I'm trying to think if there's any other good coordinators out there. Ahsoka, but nobody uses Ahsoka. But I think Ahsoka's still a good coordinator.
Yeah, but she doesn't really give out she doesn't give up her action to do it though.
No, but she's still a good coordinator and just in general coordinating is
in both factions actually.
And you gotta do more than just coordinate for 5 points though in an
I was trying to fly a coordination ship this weekend. I just didn't end up making it out to Lake Geneva for the store championships in Lake Geneva. I was trying to fly my Chewbacca with Hondo, so that would have been my coordinating ship.
Hondo, yeah, I guess.
Hondo Vaca.
Oh, jeez.
Hi, he's good.
No, I believe you. Let's take a look at some stats here, though. As we move away from it, looks like CIS, Scum, and surprisingly, the Galactic Republic are the least favorite ships, while Rebels and Empire still maintain a large threshold of list, which I'm not surprised. They perform well, I think, just because they're flown most often. I mean, Rebels are good. Like, what did we just see in the top cuts there? How many Rebel squads? 1, 2, 3, 4 different Rebel squads.
Yeah, Rebels at this event too, actually, like with the high numbers they brought, they actually still performed really well. Like the
conversion
had a 64% win rate across all of the Rebel faction lists that were taken, which is actually really good. Usually with those higher numbers, we see it start to even out a little bit from a whole event.
Mm-hmm.
And where they'd be like probably third, and some other factions that brought less stuff overall would have a higher percentage.
Right.
Like the example would be Scum here. Like there was barely any.
Oof. Top 20 was their best faction placement.
Yeah, but they because they had less players playing games, their win rate was 53%, which is second overall in win rates, but bring less people who brought the faction, there's percentages
only 3 people brought
can be higher because there's less people.
Right. Yeah, I mean, just this number alone, just 42 wins for the Rebels over the weekend there. Staggering amount of consistency from them. Yeah, we're missing that Scum and CIS in the top cut. Though, I mean, Empire still made it in First Order. Obviously, did very well in it.
Well, so it's interesting to note. First Order, um, there were 9 players playing First Order.
Mm-hmm.
Vaughn won with First Order, but performance-wise, only 35%. Oh, just over 35% win rate. So
Yeah.
one of the lower rates across the entire event.
Lost a lot of
And,
games, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of the other FO players lost a lot of games. Fawn just the one that broke through, pretty much probably saving the FO numbers.
Yeah, that checks out. I'm going to be honest with you. Take a look at squad size here, and it's getting condensed even more. Those 6-ship lists are just dropping like flies. And now just a resounding 60% 5-ship lists. I mean, there's still like plenty of 4-ship lists that do well, and they're taken often, but we just don't see them performing at the same level as a 5-ship list, which is something we'll have to talk about in the future of just why is it 5-ship. Spend a whole podcast episode on it someday. See any other interesting facts in here, Ryan?
I don't think so.
I mean,
List is out here.
pilot initiative is dropping lower and lower. This is what you were saying before, like a lot of I4s, a lot of I3s popping up.
Yeah, I mean,
Still majority I5 and I6.
It's kind of funny how wrong a lot of us were when the points first came out, right? From the initiative aspect of things and the ship count aspect. Remember when when like every faction except First Order got a 2 cost, and we're like, oh my god, it's gonna be a 6-ship meta. Look at all the ships we can put in the list. Da, 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 da. And then people realize, like, look at all these high initiatives I can put in this 5 or 4-ship list, or sometimes even 6-ship list. The majority can be higher initiative, but like, we're in a almost exclusively 4 or 5-ship meta with a vast mix of initiatives. Like, yeah, your squad should probably have at least one I5 or I6, at least. That's just going to happen, just because of how things are pointed, right?
Right.
Like one of the most popular pilot in each faction, I believe, is I5 or above. Like, you have overall analysis on pattern analyzer, but like Luke, most popular pilot in Rebel, including Han, right? I4, I5, or sorry, I5, I6. Elo for Resistance. You have, I believe, Tomax for Empire. Yep, I5.
Yeah, pulling down I5. I mean, Empire
First
almost
Order Malrus
almost
I5.
has both all the
Oddball
time.
I5 for Galactic Republic. And then, I mean, sure, we can look at Scum and Separatists.
I mean, Fenrir and Lima, pretty much in every scum list.
So
and
the most
Dirge.
popular ships are still I5, I6, but the building of an entire squad consists of well over just I5 and I6. You have plenty of 4s and some 3s mixed in there, and rarely, but some 2s and 1s exist. It's mainly 3s and 4s that are really popping up more, with the 5s and 6s. So after the whole, like, oh my god, it was going to be a 6-ship or nothing meta, yada yada, and then we had the, oh my god, you got to be I5 or above across your entire list. And none of that's true. There's such a variety of things that can work, and I think putting any weird parameters on your list beyond, I mean, you could say my only weird parameter is bring real guns. do lots of damage, and don't make them conditional. Like, there's a reason why I don't like having more than one ship in my list that requires like a target lock or some conditional setup or bullseye only to bring a real damaging gun.
Mm-hmm. No, it makes sense to me. I mean, it kind of goes back to that barrage rockets versus plasma discussion, where ease of use has a lot better returns than I think maximum potential, right? So interesting to see. I mean, a lot of to me, a lot of classic lists here, a lot of small variations on lists we've seen. But to me, my favorite part about these top cuts is that it's been a really long time since we've seen two of the exact same list in a cut. Like maybe the like all SOC Republic lists with like Padme. This is kind of popular, but normally only one gets into the cut anyways, so it's not really a lot of multiples in there, which I think is very healthy for the game. We're seeing Han rebels of all combinations and rebels without Han. You don't even need Han sometimes. It's very exciting stuff there. Again, Fan Long again won it with that FO. So we'll be seeing him at the World Championship. So let's finish out the night. We're talking Empire then. Is that what we got queued up for this evening?
I mean, we had three left.
Which one do you want?
On how much time you want to spend? We have Separatists, Rebels, and Empire left.
Well, I have been talking a lot of Rebels tonight. What do you think, Marcel? Double down on them, or get something fresh in there?
Nope, whatever you guys want.
I'll let our host pick.
I say we go with Rebels. We've been talking a lot of Rebels, so a lot of the possibilities are already shown for us. So let's take a look at some other possibilities for these ships. A lot of them, I mean, this is why we do the loadout sections. A lot of people do have, if not a standard loadout card, they have a set loadout. Is there a particular pilot, Ryan, you think that you could show us an interesting loadout for, or at least some variations of loadouts?
I think it's probably worth looking at. I'd say a lot of these are probably A-wing based that we've already noted so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about Keo. I mean, really, Lone Wolf, Concussion, or Procket.
Or Juke.
Or, sorry, Juke.
Yeah.
Choose one expensive upgrade.
I'm going to focus on Hera.
Okay.
Because a lot of what her kit is meant to do is utility and how it synergizes with the rest of the list. Because generally you're going for a 4-point missile to start out with. Anything else beyond that is probably going too hard into like bullseyeing stuff with like Cracked Shot or Predator with your talent, and Hera's not really meant to bullseye stuff.
Right. As a note, she's got only 5 loadout, so really gonna have to stretch that as far as you can.
Yeah, exactly. But it's really, when you're looking at the missiles, it's one of two, and it's Mag Pulse or it's Thread Tracers. It depends on the list that you have, because an example would be like Zach Bart's list from Gen Con. He took Mag Pulse on his because he already had like Luke who could shoot and reliably shoot his proton torpedo as needed. He's able to utilize Fenn's Predator, Bodica's Predator, and then he has Sabine in there as well, and obviously her herself. So not a lot of value gotten out of Thread Tracers, and you can neuter someone's offense coming back towards your ships, where utilizing Mag Pulse. And if you shoot something you don't need to spend the lock on, then that gets even better with Hera, because then other ships can use her lock for their offensive modifications. The other option being thread tracers can start enabling certain good combinations. When you look at things like Gina Moonsong in the B-Wing, not commonly taken in Rebels right now, but can put out a ridiculous amount of damage actually when Gina is put on the board with plasma torpedoes and proton cannons. And Hera being able to shoot someone with a focus, get a lock on them, Hera herself, Gina can already have taken a lock, no problem. Or Hera can let her get the lock. And then you're shooting very well modded plasma torp and then proton cannon. And that does a really big amount of damage to like Arc 170s. Or you could be enabling other ships in one of the lists we just talked about, like a Benthic in your Heratani style lists, that Hera's probably taking a focus anyway and being fed more evades, so you could shoot your thread tracer off for your other ships like Benthic, who normally is only focus modded, to then also have a target lock. So, and then even the last point in the talent slot, you have, I think, all three that we've generally seen are viable. Hopeful. Hera sometimes is just evading in some lists where it's not Heratani, where she's focusing and then taking another token for it instead, or as in like Jin, changing it to evade. Like Hera can take locks with Mag Pulse and then take evades defensively and still have Hopeful active for that focus, and then link potentially to boost or just boost for better position. You have marksmanship, crits are good. Doing crits against box carriers are good. I think the Dark Horse one is Deadeye Shot though, because she can shoot first in your list since she's I6. If she does have that bullseye, she's not really wanting to spend her mods on offense anyway, unless has a lock for something like Mag Pulse and wants to really Mag Pulse them. But just being able to change any hit or crit results, so Deadeye Shot, people may not be aware, very rare card to use. While you perform primary attack, if the defender's in your bullseye, you may spend one crit result or spend a hit result or change one crit to a hit result. If you do, the defender exposes one of its damage cards. This is more of as combat is already kind of initiated, which Hera generally is in the first turn of engagement, kind of in the back lines, like not taking shots, just giving tokens to friends. She could come in the second or third turn of engagement and make her bullseye matter, to where if she rolls a successful result at all and you're in her bullseye and you have some damage cards on you, you expose one. And against something like a rack or an arc, or a Han, things with a lot of hull, if you flip up stuff like structural or hull breach or weapons failure or anything that affects the rest of the entire round of shooting now, like that's a big deal. That can hurt a lot. So
oh man, the dream of just flipping over somebody's panicked over and over again.
Sure. Or disable power regulator against the small ship that wanted its lock to shoot for offense. There's plenty of things. I mean, we've seen how much crits can change entire rounds, right? And it's not like you're expecting Hera's damage to actually punch through. So just give her a light concussion missile, basically, in bullseye. So yeah, it's more like you have to target in the list that you're playing with Hera, which of those talents, marksmanship, Deadeye Shot, Hopeful, and more particularly which missile, Tracer or Mag Pulse, is going to benefit the rest of your squad the most. What helps cover some of their weaknesses? What helps get them to the overall victory against most things in the meta right now? And I think Hera is a utility piece. You need to equip her correctly with the list that you bring, the utility options she has.
Ryan, let me challenge you here. I'm not taking a missile on Hera. What am I taking?
I could see. God, this is rare that I consider this because I'm not a fan of tethering it. I could see swarm tactics and just flying Hera next to Boudica.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we
And
have seen that
Hera's
before.
just.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Hera's just evading, and Boudica, and you're just flying next to Boudica. Boudica's shoot I6. So now both of Boudica's shots on average are going to always shoot full dice. And you either have to decide to shoot the Fang with Focus Evade, or at least an Evade and maybe Concordia, or shoot Hera, which means Boudica triggers.
Right. It's true.
That's the only other one I've seen that I'd be like, okay, I understand that a little bit.
Right, because that man, if she had 7, we could be seeing like some Predator Crackshot combination. You don't really ever lone wolf your Hera. She's not really designed for that. You might as well just be Kyo if you're trying to do that. She does have a sensor slot. Passive sensor seems outrageous on her.
Yeah, you're already I6. It's like super unnecessary. And then for like the only time you want to take target locks are for missiles anyway. You don't need them for your primary dice for FCS.
Yeah, like something like FCS Predator also seems a bit ridiculous.
Like if she had one more point, I could understand mag and FCS because you mag something that you would generally hit off the basic roll, like a 1 or 0 agility ship, rack or an arc. Like I just need a result or 2. I don't even have to spend a lock. Cool. Right. Or I'd reroll 1 because I have FCS, and I get to keep it to let my other allied ships use the lock for themselves from Hera's ability.
Right. Yeah. You probably find a lot more use with the fire control system than say like Deadeye Shot, but not really an option here.
Ran out of points.
She even take my baffle, I guess. Angle deflectors. No, her ability only doesn't work on reinforces. Boo. Probably for the best.
Probably for the best, but also she'd be 3 health. It's a lot easier to bring down, but I guess still load her up with a bunch of tokens.
She's reinforcing. She'll be fine. Right? Surely. Alright. Marcel, hit me with a rebel pilot. You want to talk some loadouts?
Alright, I was looking at it. So what you guys have a Kyo proton rocket if you're wrong. I mean, if you're not flying, you're wrong. Hera, Wedge, A-Wing. These are all boring. Let's do something.
They are kind of boring. We threw out some.
Let's do ones. Nora.
Nora in the Y-Wing?
Yeah.
Which one?
I'm doing both because they're both 5 points. So you got choices. All right. So you've got choices. So let's start off with the Nora Y-Wing, which is one that we saw I think last week. With
at the Golden State Games, there was
it had veteran turret gunner. I believe this was it. It should have been it. It's veteran turret gunner, ion cannon, R4 astromech, and afterburners. So I think that was what we saw.
I think so. Yeah.
It looks like that's what we saw.
Yeah, afterburners. Now, R4. Sure.
You could. Again, just going into the loadout variances or different ways to load it out. You could drop 3 points for a dorsal turret and use it just kind of a defensive at range 1. I mean, Nora wants to be at range 1.
Right.
You're still throwing 3 dice, and then it also gives you the opportunity to throw a seismic charge in there, so you get veteran turret gunner, dorsal turret, R4, afterburner, and seismic charge.
Sure.
So you're giving up the ion for the additional seismic charge, which could come in handy.
Yeah. Like against Han being in a major threat, just less obstacles is better.
Yeah, for sure. And then I was thinking, like, what else can you do with it? And this is kind of this is a little bit more on the silly side. I still like the ion turret, veteran turret gunner, and R4 astromech. But the 8 points gives you enough points to get a electro proton bomb. Like if you really want to say like, don't come in this area for the next couple turns. Here's an electro proton bomb, which actually is 8 points now. You can also they don't have the tier fun belly run, right? But definitely Nora wants to have. I think the Afterburners is
No,
probably one of the musts.
tier fun they have. It's just a point now. It's not free anymore. You gotta pay. You gotta
Yeah,
pay for that
but
ability.
no, but I still think like the Afterburners with Nora specifically, like you need to guarantee that range one. You don't want to get
Almost a
stuck out. You know,
must-have.
you don't want to get stuck out. You know, you
Yeah.
convert yourself into Fenral. You don't want to get stuck out there at range two.
Yeah, and honestly, without a munition like an ion torp or anything to launch at long range, you almost have to go with the veteran turret, right? There's really no other option for that.
Well, you could do something like dorsal turret and uh, and swarm tactics. Like that could be your I5 boost if you're really trying to get something else shooting up at Initiative 5, maybe a Bodica or something. Because
Interesting.
Nora wants to be range 1, Bodica wants to be range 1.
Yeah.
So and with the Afterburners on Nora, it allows it to keep up with Bodica. So
Yeah.
swarm tactics. I mean, again, Nora's it's kind of weird saying Nora's your throwaway ship at 5 points.
At 5 points.
But it's basically your look at me ship. Like, hey, come look at me. Shoot at me.
Right.
But if you want to stay on the Nora train, but don't like the Y-wings in general, or don't like the weak gun, you could go also at 5 points. You got the Arc 170 Nora, so that way you get a medium base, so it's a little bit better on some of the objectives, and it punches a lot harder, and it got 8 points. You can't do the afterburners on it, but that's fine. You can do veteran tail gunner, which is 5 points now, and then you have 3 points to just mess around with. I was looking at what I would probably spend it on if I had it. I would probably go with something like hopeful and expert handling, just so I can barrel roll when I need to get into that range 1. The main problem here is that it's not, it's a 3-die forward attack and it's a 2-die out of the back, but without having a way of double modding. You're not double modding, so you're not, your shots are mostly, you're hoping for a lot of natties on here.
Right.
But and it doesn't have the boost. So while it hits harder in general, it takes up more space. We know arcs are good. I think because the 10 points of loadout difference is just a little bit too much of a, it's too big to pass up on the Y-wing. So I think the Y-wing is just a better call, unfortunately. But I don't know. Well, what would you guys put on your Noras? Or do you guys even think your Noras would even be outside of last week? Are they just not?
I as far as the Y-wing, I think I would be reaching for that chopper to be able to, if people don't shoot at you, start taking actions while you K-turn, like a K-turn, focus.
Which chopper, the astromech?
Yes, in the Y-wing version, you had those 2 points for R4. No.
Mm-hmm.
Get yourself chopper. So chopper
and 2 shields to recover 1 nano.
Oh no, you know what? I'm thinking of crew. Oh, you're right. I'm silly. Never mind. Ignore me.
You're thinking of the bump one, right?
No, I'm thinking of the one that's on Han Solo all the time. Yeah, that's right. That's a crew. Y-wing doesn't have the crew. Neither does the Arc.
No, they don't. None of the arcs have crew on Rebel, which is a shame.
Yeah, it got them cheap enough to fly these days. Yeah, so the only thing I'm looking at is Predator and Crackshot to try to get some offense You could go like
I mean, you can
Predator,
get proximity
Selfless, Mines. No, I don't care about the Y-wing anymore. I'm talking the Arc. I want. Well, you said with the one problem with the Nora Arc is that you're not out here double modifying. So
with
I'm
the
actually
arc. Yeah,
I'm trying to do my best. I'm trying to do my best oddball impersonation here with Predator and Selfless. I don't know if I can get a gunner for 4 points. That's worth it. No. I mean, if people aren't shooting at the Arc, is Selfless an option? Make people shoot at Nora?
I mean, it turns it a little bit into. It gives you a little bit of an oddball effect.
Right. Yeah, I'm just doing an oddball impersonation here. I5 Arc. I don't know. Not really seeing a lot else. Because that veteran turret gunner is so good, especially when you're just jamming Nora into the fight. But very expensive. Takes up so much of your loadout. Is there any like Astromechs that would really be helpful? Not really.
No, not really.
What do you think, Ryan? Any you see anything on this Arc Nora?
And nothing really sticks out. I mean, there's no crew and low-ish loadouts, so no force charges on the ship.
Yeah, there's like suppressive.
Probably why we're not really seeing it that much. It's really defensive when it's close when it's close to stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Probably just maximizing some of that. So after you take veteran tail gunner, I don't know, probably just expert handling and hopeful.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, with the fact that you're not going to be double modded that often. I mean, technically, Oddball isn't until he bumps an enemy and then can shoot someone else that is also a range 0 to 1 of him that he can still shoot. So, granted, he can pass that to other people, but yeah, if it's Arc, it's expert handling, hopeful, and veteran turret gunner probably.
Yeah, it's hard not to take the double shot, but I mean, there's like options for like enduring as well. It's not exciting, but it is exciting with her. I think that she basically has like a reinforce, being able to add the evade. So enduring at least like can negate some of those crits as you take that
I think on Y-wing Nora, I think you start with ion cannon turret and veteran turret gunner.
Yeah,
you got 10 points left, so it's either you go super maneuverable with burners and expert handling,
like the expert handling instead of the astromech.
Yeah, probably. Although I think Nora needs a bomb, like actually super needs a bomb. And I think proton bombs, if you got the room for it, take it.
You have to go down.
And then you could go R4 if you want to reload or do barrel rolls and have a more open dial. I do think like a slightly interesting play is enduring, because you're like, as long as you're range 1, you're guaranteeing you're generating your evade. So unless they have multiple crits or have you in bullseye, you can evade that crit incoming with Nora's ability.
True. And enduring cancels crits first, unless you're in bullseye.
Yep.
Also, if you take a crit, you can take a red focus action. So on a single action ship, it could be a way to still do that. That's kind of what I was trying to do with Nora. There's like a weird reverse hopeful. Instead of waiting for your friends to be destroyed, you're just waiting for something to attack you really good. Yeah. Actually, I don't mind afterburners. I like your idea of proton bomb, but you have to go down to dorsal to still keep afterburners on that Y-wing Nora. But that's not bad. I like the ion though. It's so powerful. What one ion token could do to the battlefield, let me tell you. Oh, I should probably find a pilot. I like your B-wing idea. I don't think anybody's flying B-wings. Because like fangs are pretty much solved, Y-wings are more or less solved. It's do you take a turret or not? And they have standard loadouts anyways. So yeah, I think I liked your Nora suggestion. So we're gonna take or not Nora, Gina. But I'm gonna first look at Hera in the B-wing because she's got the biggest loadout at 14. You can reach just for FCS and proton torpedoes. Start blasting stuff right away. You can take a look and take advantage of the double attack. Actually, I don't know about hopeful. Yeah, probably hopeful, I guess. Marksmanship. So you could fire your primary and then a jam at I6. But man, if you don't take the proton torpedoes, your loadout of 14 gets opened up. If you drop down to plasma, you can get a real cannon out here, proton, heavy, or ion. That proton cannon, after a plasma torpedo, oof. And you have enough loadout for fire control system and seismic charges, if you can believe that or not. So you can roll up plasma torpedo with a reroll from fire control system, spend your lock for a proton cannon. Should be easy to line up. You can barrel roll and lock at I6, so you could find that bullseye just as easily as a dirge or anything like that, and really just blast something. Not doing any range 1 double taps, which does make me sad. You have to drop down to an ion cannon. I think that's the only thing that shoots range 1. Am I mistaken on that? Oh, tractor beam and jamming beam. So yeah, give us a damage doing range 1 cannon, please. But you can still do something like that. Get like plasma, ion, FCS, and marksman, and just come in lighten something up. But we don't normally see Hera. Because she's that 5 points, I do like your idea of Gina Moonsong at 11 loadout. Still has that capability of taking plasma and either synced or ion cannon. Be able to really... Though you don't get FCS, though. Is that worth just going down to proton then?
Proton cannon, yeah, just line with like rip shields off, do crits, easy peasy.
Yeah, that is like such a powerful combination, right? I mean, she's still I5, she can still pull it off.
Yeah, I mean they got lock link barrel roll like that. You can get a bullseye on something.
That's terrifying. I do not. If you are Jag or Wolf, you do not want to see that at all. This Gina Moonsong coming at you. Which, I mean, I think the B-Wings have a lot more potential now that plasma torpedoes are just 5 points. You can slot them in a lot easier. You don't have to rely so much on cannons for your damage doing. Get your primary options out. And they just have so many options. They have bomb slots now, which I still can't wrap my head around that they have bomb slots. But I mean, canonically, they do. They're the heavy attacker bomber. They just feel like you move so slow that you can't like get out of your own bomb, right? Like drop a bomb in K2K, but like blows up like right in front of you. So it's a little scary. Is there any other loadouts for Gina that we should be looking at?
Not for me. I'm pretty well set on the plasma proton FCS.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Anything else you either FCS is so powerful. If you're trying to double tap at all, you need the fire control system. So I'm trying to think of like a
You said plasma, proton cannons, and FCS.
Yeah, on Gina.
Yeah.
And Hera, honestly, at that point, like that's very scary. That's like that has the potential to just destroy an arc outright. Not quite.
Yeah, I think I did the
It could.
math with
Yeah,
squads
that's
that
right.
have
right.
with squads that have Gina and Luke in them. Backed by if the Gina's backed by a Hera with tracers, and that tracer just hits naturally without having to spend Hera's focus. Gina with a lined up bullseye and Luke with a proton torpedo have like a decently high chance to kill an arc with just Gina's 2 shots and Luke's pro torp.
Sure. Yeah.
Even through stuff like Selfless.
Yeah. Like even them getting that single of 8, like you're still going to be putting out 12
and it's not even including the fact that like Boudica can exist in the same list. So who could shoot twice?
How many people can we get that shoot twice in Rebels?
Right, Boudica, Gina, Han.
Oh yeah. Well, it's twice. Yeah, I guess that still counts. You get 5 points. So you're saying Gina, Boudica, Han, and Luke?
Well, I wouldn't actually make that list, but the only Gina list I've considered was Hera, Gina, Luke, Keo. Do I have points left after that?
Which Hera? A-Wing Hera?
A-Wing Hera. See, that's 4, 4, 3, 5. I should have.
Yeah.
No, 3 4s. 12, 5, 3. No, that should be 20.
You saying Boudica, Keo, Luke?
Yep.
To round that off. Interesting. So basically dropping like Fen Rao to Gina to not have to bring Sabine.
Yes. Well, basically, yeah, because that'd be Sabine a TIE fighter in that version. Yeah.
Right.
Just to like, so it's a likely chance that this list dunks so hard on like arcs or things similar to that, but like massively loses against other stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Gina got the setup against a Wreck or an Arc 170, and then like a regular Han Rebel list shows up, or a Resistance T70 like multi stuff. Well, sure, Gina can get shots on, but the damage trade sometimes won't work out. So it depends on how you play it. It can be played. I think it can be all right, but I think the prevalency of Han makes B-Wings feel really sad.
Yeah. Like, why would you want to be a B-Wing and an A-Wing when you could just be Han Solo out there doing... We're back to the... this discussion reminds me of, like... in first edition, I used to fly 2 B-Wings, and I dropped my 2 B-Wings for Miranda because they were like essentially the same points. That's kind of the difference we're seeing here. Like, why would you fly 2 ships when you could just be flying one really good one with Han Solo? Interesting, though. I'll put this Gina on the board. I don't know who I'm going to fly it with, though. Probably. Is there a 3-point I-5 in Rebels?
Well, I was just doing something, and you can fly this Gina with, so it would be Gina, Boy Luke, the Hera, Benthic, and Sabine. So basically taking, lists that have already done well and just replace the 4-pointer.
Or Bodhi.
You're basically replacing
2 tubes.
Yeah. So you're taking the U-Wing, Benthic, 2 tubes, Hera, Luke, Gina, and Sabine.
So swapping out those Fang fighters for Gina.
Yeah,
and
for
Luke.
Luke and so instead of the Fang fighters, you take Gina and Luke.
Yeah.
So Gina's still doing the double thing. Luke is still doing the double thing. Well, the 4-die thing. Hera and Benthic are still, throwing everyone evades and focuses and target locks.
That's pretty nasty. Throwing like a mag pulse in there.
Yeah, that's what I had. I had Hera with Mag Pulse, Benthic the same way, Hopeful, Jin, Perceptive,
Sure.
Sabine with whatever, and then the Gina and Boy Luke.
That's terrifying. That is an alpha strike at that point. Getting jammed and then having 3 high quality shots follow it up.
Well, 3, yeah, because Gina's shooting twice.
Yeah. Yeah, because that proton cannon really only needs a lock. Like, if you could just use Hera's lock, because you already, like, spent yours to fire the proton cannon.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty powerful. It's like a 4-point proton torpedo at that point. If you can get the lock and shoot it.
So you're doing the jam, then followed up by a plasma proton, and then a proton torpedo. So it's a plasma proton cannon, proton torpedo after a jam and a shield.
And a crit. Yeah, jeez. Yeah. If that doesn't take something down, I don't know what you're shooting at.
Yeah, and then defensively, you've got the whole Perceptive Jin Urso thing going.
Mm-hmm. I mean, throwing Boy Luke evades is also pretty powerful. Talk about how powerful it is on Fang Fighters. Making sure Luke gets 2 evades every single time he defends is pretty impressive. So awesome. I would count that a success. Checking out the kind of oddities in Rebels, branching off from the standard loadouts, whether they're printed or just common. Yeah, some exciting stuff. Dion, got any closing thoughts?
Let me ask so
See what he's got to say.
Closing thoughts for the podcast. He said, all right, everyone, before we close out today's episode, I just want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for tuning in and being part of this fantastic community. It's conversations like these, diving deep into the heart of X-Wing and the broader Star Wars miniatures game, that reminds me why we all fell in love with this game in the first place. It sounds like something Dion would say.
I couldn't have said it better, Dion. D1ON. Couldn't have said it better.
D10N.
Yeah, D10N. Fantastic. What a way to round it off. So, for everyone here, Gold Squadron, stay safe, stay smart. I'll see you on Wednesday for the Flight Club. Goodbye. Get out of here.
Thank you to ISO, Danko, Baffle, Trojan, Prophet, Shadow, Tycho, Spice, Raider, Lancer, Fallen, Row 6, 626, Chief, and J List, our Grand Admiral patrons. And all of our Gold Squadron patrons and community members, thank you for your support. Gold Squadron out.